Day 32 of the air campaign against Iran. Tonight, the Wall Street Journal is reporting something no one expected. President Trump is exploring an exit from this war. But here is what should alarm every capital on Earth. The plan reportedly leaves the Strait of Hormuz unresolved. 21% of the world's daily oil flows through that narrow waterway. It remains closed. It remains contested. And Washington may be preparing to walk away entirely. This was never supposed to happen this way. The original objective was surgical and contained. Strike Iran's nuclear infrastructure and degrade its military. Eliminate the defense industrial base feeding regional proxies. The Pentagon briefed a focused campaign with clear benchmarks. But war follows its own logic. This war stopped following the script around day 9. Iran did not absorb the strikes in silence. Tehran launched retaliatory missile volleys across the Gulf. Kuwait took hits near its northern oil facilities. Qatar reported incoming fire near Al Udeid Air Base. The UAE activated its full air defense grid for the first time in its history. Then came the Strait of Hormuz. Iranian fast attack boats and anti-ship missiles sealed the passage entirely. Tanker traffic dropped to zero within 72 hours. Brent crude surged past $190. Insurance companies pulled coverage for every commercial vessel in the Gulf. But the escalation did not stop there. The Bab el-Mandeb Strait went dark as well. Houthi forces launched fresh anti-ship missile barrages in coordination with Tehran. Container shipping through the Suez Canal dropped by 60%. Freight rates tripled within a single week. Across in Israel, the northern front erupted with coordinated rocket strikes. The entire theater expanded far beyond what any single military plan could contain. This is the part that changes the strategic calculus entirely. The Pentagon will tell you privately the air campaign has been devastating. Iran's military is severely degraded. Air defense networks are largely destroyed. Command and control is fractured across every major base. Missile production facilities have been hit repeatedly. On paper, the objectives are close to met. But that word close is doing enormous work in that sentence. The nuclear question remains dangerously open. Deep underground facilities at Fordow are hardened beyond conventional reach. Intelligence assessments differ sharply on surviving enriched material. Some analysts believe Iran moved critical components before strikes began. Others say centrifuge cascades were destroyed in the opening hours. Nobody outside Tehran knows for certain. That uncertainty is a problem bombs cannot solve. Here is where Trump's negotiating instincts take over. The White House reportedly sees an opening, declare the military objectives achieved, claim victory on the nuclear file, position this as the decisive action no previous president dared take, then pivot to negotiations from strength. The Marine Corps in the region is not there to invade. It exists to make Tehran believe invasion remains possible. Karg Island handles 90% of Iran's oil exports. The Strait Islands offer critical strategic positioning. A credible amphibious threat creates leverage without a single Marine stepping on Iranian soil. But this is where the strategy reveals its deepest contradiction. Trump has said repeatedly that America does not need Hormuz. The United States is a net energy exporter. American refineries source crude from domestic and Canadian suppliers. The tankers transiting Hormuz carry oil to Europe and Asia, not to Houston. If the strait stays closed, that is Europe's problem. None of those allies contributed to this campaign. NATO solidarity was absent from day one. European capitals issued statements but committed zero military assets. The message from Washington is now unmistakable. We degraded Iran's military machine. We addressed the nuclear threat. Now the rest of you can handle the waterway you depend on. This calculation has European defense ministries in quiet panic. The EU imports roughly 25% of its crude through Hormuz-dependent routes. Germany's industrial base runs on affordable imported energy. The European economic model assumes open sea lanes, maintained by American power. If Washington steps back, Europe faces a vacuum it cannot fill. The Royal Navy has 4 operational destroyers. France has fewer. Combined European forces cannot sustain contested Gulf operations for more than weeks. Senior European officials are making calls they never expected. Defense conversations, scheduled for 2027, are happening now. The question leaders avoided for 3 decades is suddenly unavoidable. Can Europe defend its own economic lifelines without America? The answer today is no. What happened next stunned even senior officials in Washington. Back in the capital, the business community turned against the campaign. Oil, near $190, is crushing consumer spending. Airlines formally requested emergency fuel subsidies. Manufacturing chains dependent on Asian components faced delays of weeks. The stock market shed 11% since the campaign began. Wall Street executives privately warned prolonged Hormuz closure could trigger a global recession. The Chamber of Commerce issued its strongest public statement in a decade. Senior industry leaders began calling the White House directly. And Iran has not surrendered. Iran will not surrender. This is the miscalculation that haunts every air campaign in history. You can destroy military hardware from the sky, you can crater runways and shatter radar installations. But you cannot bomb a government into changing its strategic intent. Iranian leadership absorbed 32 consecutive days of bombardment. They have not requested negotiations. They have not reached through back channels. They are waiting, because time is on their side. Every day Hormuz stays closed costs the global economy billions. Every day oil stays elevated erodes domestic support for this campaign. Every day without a diplomatic off-ramp makes negotiation harder. Trump now faces 3 paths, and none are good. Continue the campaign and accept economic damage as global markets bleed. Declare victory and withdraw, but risk Iran rebuilding within 5 years, or escalate with ground forces near the Strait and accept casualties this administration promised to avoid. 32 days ago, the Pentagon called this a precision operation. Tonight, the president is searching for an exit from a conflict that outgrew every original parameter. Iran's military is degraded, but its leverage remains intact. The Strait of Hormuz gives Tehran something air power cannot destroy: geographic position. And geographic position does not surrender. The war is not over. Negotiation has not begun, and the global economy is holding its breath.